Hey everybody, welcome back to the video. In this one, we're going to be learning about multi-threading. So in this one, we're going to see about joining and scheduling multi-threads and everything. So before going into the video, I would appreciate you guys liking and subscribing the video and feel free to comment. So let's go into the topic. So first, let's see about joining. So sometimes the main thread finishes the task even though we get the output. So you're going to see an example of what I'm saying. So let me get my code right here. So let me delete this part to make you guys understand. And so this is basically what I'm doing. I'm importing the threading module and I have my print5 values. And I have the parameters name and num so that I can pass my values and everything. So if you check my previous video, you would know what is this example. If you didn't, you can go check it out, which is creating and starting threads, which is kind of like the topic of multi-threading. So if you know this topic, you would understand what I'm saying here. And then I have my variable right here, which means I'm declaring a thread, which means I have just one thread right here because this is thread 1 and I just have one thread. And this is my start, which means I'm starting the thread. And now, as I said, whenever like you print this, we get, even though we get the output, sometimes the main thread finishes its task. So let me run this real quick. And now, as you see, we got the output. And if you see something, you would see that the thread 1, which is pretty basic, which is pretty normal, thread 1, thread 2, thread 3 and everything. But we are printing main thread here. And as you see, our main thread already completed its task. But even though we are getting the output, the main thread finished its task. So to prevent that, we use joining. So let's see what does joining mean and how do you write joining in Python. So to prevent that, we can use variable.join, which is var, which means this word, which is a variable for us, a.join basically for us, and then we can now use this thing so that the main thread waits for the subthread to finish. And you can also see if the thread is alive or not. So what I mean by alive is the thread working or not. So that's what I mean if it's alive or not. So for that, you have to use a syntax like the variable, which is a for us, dot is underscore alive, and then have your pair of parentheses. So that's how this thing works. And let's see an example using these both right now. So first I have to print, or I have to use the join method. So I'm gonna use the join method. And now if I were to run this, it's gonna print the main thread at the end. As you see, I can run this multiple times to show you guys that it actually prints at the end. So as you see, and now we can also check if the thread is alive or not. So if the thread is alive, it's gonna print us true. If it's not, it's gonna return false. So for that, we have to print is alive, which is a dot is alive, and then I have it right there. So if I were to run this, it's gonna print us true because our code is still working right here. And if I were to print this after the join method, it's gonna print us false because our code is done, it joined and everything. So as you see, it's false, and then here it's true, which is basically this one is true and this is false. So that's how this thing works. And joining is a lot important in Python because sometimes most of the people just use the threading module and then they just want to join so that your main thread doesn't run away faster or complete its task faster. And so that's how this joining thing works. And now let's see something called scheduling. So scheduling is a very important topic in Python because this is used to schedule tasks and events to the threads, which is based upon multi-threading. So this is a lot important for us. So let's see what is scheduling. Scheduling is used to schedule tasks and events to the threads. So this is pretty straightforward because it's kind of like scheduling. The word itself says it's going to schedule. So it's pretty straightforward for us. To perform scheduling, we have to import something called sched and time, so that we can the time is used to see like how much delay and everything, so that we can understand what is happening in our code. And sched is used for creating schedules and everything. So I'm gonna give you a real life example of how scheduling is. So basically, whenever you wake up in the morning, you eat breakfast, if you want, like if you didn't complete your homework, you're basically gonna study, and then you're maybe gonna go to school if you have that day, or you're basically gonna play the full day. So that's how this thing works, and that's what basically scheduling does. It's gonna schedule tasks and events to the threads. So that's how this thing works. And now we have to have a variable first. So to create scheduling, this is basically the syntax. And let me show you guys. As you see, I have to have my variable. For me, it's scheduler right here. I can change this to a or anything. So to make it clear that it's scheduling, we can just keep the word scheduling there. And then have this is a main important to schedule, because without this your code is gonna come in error, and because you never schedule anything. So first, to create a schedule you have to have kind of like a paper or something. So that's how this thing works. So this is a sched module which we imported, and then this is the schedule, which is basically something we are accessing inside the sched module. And then we have to have a pair of parentheses. Normally you can even write something inside it like time.time and everything, but for us we don't even have to. And then after you're done with your code, which is basically you're going to create the function before it and then have your code and everything, and then you can add tasks, which is basically like whenever you have a paper and you want to schedule some tasks, you're going to write your tasks. So first I have to eat breakfast and then study and then something like that, right? So for us, you have to enter your tasks. So for that, we have to use your variable right here. So if you have a, you can just use a dot enter. Dot enter is correct, like dot enter is the syntax of how you do it, of parentheses of the delay, which you how much delay you want to start the task. So remember to just start the task. That's starting, because whenever I write the code, some people may get confused and then they think, what is it? So, and then the priority. What is priority? So if a VIP is there, he's gonna get the top first priority, right? So that's how this thing works. You're gonna specify the priority in numbers. So if I have something like this, so let me have my breakfast as my top first priority, which means I have to first eat breakfast and then go complete my other tasks. So that's how this thing works. So you have to have the priority of what should be the next one task kind of thing. And then have your function, which means which function you want to have the code inside it, or which function you want to call. And then have a pair of parentheses and have your name inside it, which means like the task name. So for me, if it's breakfast, I'm gonna type breakfast. If it's study, I'm just gonna type study or something kind of like that. And also have the comma, because these are quarks arguments. So Python things are multiple, so you have to have this syntax. And if you write the code, you're gonna run understand this all pretty easy. And scheduling is a lot of fun when you learn. And then after you write your code and have everything scheduled, and then you have to basically follow the schedule, right? So you basically stick on the board or something. So for us, we have to run the schedule, which is basically the variable name which you schedule, and then dot run. You can have any amount of schedulers, so you can have any amount of those, and then you can just run it so that your threads work. So let's see examples using those. So first, let me delete this all code right here. And then first we have to import sched, and then there we go. And then import something called time. And that's how you import those if you didn't know. And then have my function. So basically I want to define some tasks. So I'm gonna have my function name tasks, and then have a parameter name because I want to have the name of the task, right? So that's why I want to have the name. And then print, I'm gonna print the task. Like, let me make this format a string so that I can print the task inside this. So let me just say task, and then have a pair of these these curly brackets, and then have my task name, and then have just like that is started. So I'm just gonna say it started. So basically whenever I run this, let's say I give the task as study, task study is started, or I can just say task study started. So I'm just gonna say that. And then I want some delay to understand how much time would it take. So this is constant, so we have to keep a delay of how much time you want to complete the task. So I'm not gonna make the delay a lot, I'm just gonna make it 6 seconds. And then I'm gonna print something called f, which is basically the formatting string, task, and then I'm gonna say the task name is finished. So finished, just like that, and then it's gonna basically start it again. So we have our function right here. And now we have to have the scheduler, right? Because you have your function, and now you know what task you have to do. Now you have to schedule the task and create a scheduler. So first, I have to have my variable. I'm gonna have it x. So I'm gonna define x equals. And it's better if you have the variable something like scheduler, so that you would understand. Okay, this is a scheduling variable. So I'm gonna just have it x. And if you want, you can change it too. So x equals, and then have the schedule access the schedule module, and then have scheduler, which is a class, I guess. So as you see, it's a class. And then have nothing inside it. You can even have like time.time, because many people just have those and those, but you don't even have to. It's gonna work, so you don't have to worry about anything about that. And then you have to have this. So now you created your scheduler. Now after you create your scheduler, you have to enter some tasks in it, right? So I'm gonna enter some tasks. So I'm gonna probably enter like x dot, I'm gonna enter this how you enter, and then enter my tasks. So to start the task, how much delay should be there? So I will basically take as 3 seconds, or let's take 5 to show you guys. And then I'm gonna have my priority. So this would probably be my third priority. To show you guys how this priority works, I'm gonna keep this as the third priority. And then I'm gonna access the function called tasks. And remember to not give the parentheses, so you don't have to. And then have my arguments, which are basically the name. So this is probably gonna be as study. So you're basically gonna study as a third priority, and before that you have to do something. So first, yeah, I created my things, and also remember to have a comma right there, and then x dot enter. I'm gonna create another scheduler, which is basically I'm gonna add more tasks. I'm gonna have this 5 seconds too, and the priority would probably be to this probably will be to second priority, and then have my tasks, and then have my arguments, or to say the name. This was probably gonna be the breakfast. So breakfast, and then at first morning you have to wake up, right? So I'm gonna even enter that, enter, and then I'm gonna probably give the priority as first, because you have to have the priorities first. And then I'm gonna have my task function just like that, and then wake up. So wake up. So that's what I'm gonna do, and then have my comma right there. So I created my tasks right here, and I can even add more, but for now I'm just gonna do this one. So I have 3 tasks, and then x dot run. So, and now if I were to run this, so it's gonna give us our name. So first it's gonna give us the wake up, because that's the first priority. So task wake up started, and then it's gonna go to the next task, which is basically finished, and then breakfast started. And then after the breakfast finished, it's gonna go to the study started. And then we have to wait for a couple seconds. So that's how this thing works. And now let's see if I change the priorities to some seconds. So we have our first priority, second priority, and third priority. So what if I change this to first? So let me change that to first, and that to the second one, and this to the third one. So it's gonna basically go on the priority and also the delay, which I'm gonna be showing you guys in a second. So first it have to print us the study one. As you see, task study started, and then wake up, and then breakfast. So I'm not gonna show you I'm not gonna show you all the thing, because you guys like cannot see full thing, which is gonna take so long. So I'm just gonna stop that right there, and then I'm gonna change these to some other seconds. So what if I change this to 10 seconds, this to the 6 seconds, and then this to 5. So basically I have my first priority as study right there, but still it's gonna go to wake up. Why? Because it's basically gonna go on seconds too, because this is in a kind of like in a sleep mode, in a delay mode. So who's gonna delay that? So first it's gonna go to wake up, because I'm not gonna delay, I'm gonna print something. And as you see, this thing is over, and then it went to this turn. So it also depends on how many seconds you give. So if you give like more seconds, it's probably gonna go to the less seconds one as the first priority. So that's how this thing works. And to keep it a real name, you can just keep scheduler, because it's gonna make sense, because that's a scheduler kind of thing. So you can just change that anytime, and then we have our priority right there. So that's how this thing that's how scheduling works. So that's it for today's video. See you in the next video. Until then, bye bye.